Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe. And currently, where I'm living right now, there's a major hailstorm going on. So if you hear thunder or tap, 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 tapping, it's insane. Yeah. I'm going to be very distracted during the stream, but I hope you're all doing well on this lovely Friday, except if you live where I live. Nothing lovely about this. But a big hello, good morning, afternoon, or evening to Sam and Jezulai Yomi. I will pronounce your name correctly one day. Jack and Dana and Antoine, Ariana, Thiago, Lamont, Nicole, many familiar faces from this afternoon's masterclass. If you missed that, definitely head back and watch it. We're putting together a new Maps plugin for Adobe XD. It's coming along, and I'm working with Walter, a great developer, to put it together, but definitely go back and watch that. Today, we're going to focus on our final, our final XD Daily Challenge for the week before we head to break. Next week, nothing. We're all relaxing, hanging out. Maybe if I get bored, I'll hop on Behance and do a stream, but yeah, second day in a row with bad weather. Yesterday was today's a lot worse. Put music loud so you won't listen to that's true. I could put the music a bit louder, but I don't want to drown out my voice. It's really tap dancing. It could be just people on my roof tap dancing. All right, I'm going to hop over to my screen, behance.net/challenge/XD. Head over here to get all the information about the Daily Creative Challenge. Again, today is the last day in this set of challenge. Next week we're off, and then a new set is going to start the week after that, which is really exciting. New host, new set of challenges, and I'm going to be back, I believe, at the beginning of August running another set of challenges, so stay tuned for that. So head on over here. You can press the big blue button at the top, but challenges are coming to an end, so it's completely up to you. Here's the way things work if you're just joining and you want to get ready for the next set. Every single day you're going to receive a challenge. Usually it's Monday to Friday for 2 weeks, but this week it's been a little bit different, just Monday to Friday for 1 week. You can join us in our community chat. If I hop over here to Discord, we've got about 50,000 designers in Discord. It's a fantastic community. You can get all the information about the daily challenges here. You can also share tips and tricks, ask questions. But more importantly, if you are participating in these challenges, hop into the current current challenge channel. It's a tongue twister. I think they did it on purpose so the hosts would get twisted when they're trying to say it. Post your work here. It's got great mentors, Chris Cannon, Joss, Maddie, Peter, a bunch of Adobe folks. Some are offline, probably sleeping. Tim is on. I don't know why Tim's online. It's like 11 p.m. over there where Tim lives. Go to bed, Tim. But he's there. A lot of people in there giving great feedback. You can also share your work on Behance using the keyword XD Daily Challenge. Cornell's asking, is the new season of DCC going to start on Monday or Tuesday? So the next round, which I believe is July 6th or something like that, the Monday of that 2-week challenge is a kickoff stream. So it's a welcome, here's Discord, here's Adobe XD. And then the next day, on Tuesday, it will be the first challenge. So it's 9 challenges in total. All right, to catch you up very quickly before we dive into today's challenge, scrollable galleries we started with on Monday. Scroll groups, brand new to Adobe XD, super exciting feature. We've been using them throughout the week. We went onto a Maps experience, and this aligns perfectly with the plugin that Walter and I are bringing to life, using scroll groups in both directions. Then we explored a notes application using stacks and scroll groups, a Kanban board, and also a schedule we tackled yesterday using stacks. And if I refresh now, we should see today's challenge, which is to build out a case study, which is perfect for all of you designers who are publishing on Behance and really want to put something together that's going to catch people's attention. So with that said, let's hop over to Adobe XD for the final challenge of the week. Here we go. And again, your challenge is to design a case study. Here we go. So it could be a personal project, could be a client project, whatever it might be. A little bit of inspiration down here, but I'm going to hop over here and we are going to get building. Now, if you're familiar with case studies, they vary. Some are very long, some are very short, some are all text-based, some are mostly images. So there's no right way to do a case study. It's completely up to you and your personal preference, but we're going to start big. One thing I love about case studies is a nice big header image at the top of my design. So I'm just going to draw one out just like this. It's going to fill up the entire artboard. And I've got this rectangle up at the top. And I'm just going to fill it in just so you can see what we're working with, right? Beautiful. Now if I hop over to Finder, here we go. I've got some files here. And if I hop into my, let's go for food. Maybe this is a food case study. Maybe it doesn't make much sense, but they're nice images. So I'm going to grab, let's say, the image of donuts, because I can, right? Because donuts are delicious. I think Jack is in the house. Jack loves donuts. Jack was on Adobe Live not too long ago. It feels like a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. And she designed a great donut application, which was fancy. All right, so we've got our donuts looking pretty good. And, you know, sometimes you can also put some text up there to kick things off, or if you're working on a mobile application or a web application or whatever it might be, you might put maybe an application frame up here, or, you know, a product shot of some sort. But we're going to keep things simple today. We're going to focus on stacks and how it can help benefit your case studies as well. Always with food, I agree. Now maybe for the actual artboard, maybe I'm just going to introduce a little bit of color to this. You know, we have this nice blue at the top, right? Maybe I'll just bring in a little bit of blue. We don't want to go too crazy. You certainly don't want to go something like this. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. I probably don't, because it's very difficult to add content on top of that. Just going to add in a little bit of blue. And then we might want to start adding in some content. So I'm just going to type out donut case study. Now, of course, this is way too small. So I'm just going to grab this little handle of this point text and drag it on up. And we can go ahead and drop the size just like, or drop the color just like that. And maybe to really emphasize that this is a case study, or you can do it on the word donut as well. What I can do is I can select individual words and just bold them a little bit, just like that, right? I can also, let me go ahead and actually go to Dunbar Tall. And maybe I'll drop this to regular, and I'll have this one at bold. That looks pretty good, just to create a little bit of emphasis. Perfect. Next, we may want to give a little bit more information about, excuse me, I've been streaming all day. It's hard on my throat. About what this case study is. So I'm going to grab my text tool one more time, drag out, just like this, an area text. And this is where description of case study, right? Now, of course, whoops, what did I do? Oh, I hid it. There we go. Perfect. Okay, double click. There we go. Now, of course, you know, this is way too big. It doesn't make sense for a paragraph text. So I'm going to change this over to Sophia Pro, maybe bump this down to medium, and really drop the size quite a bit. 28 looks pretty good. And then, of course, we want to drop that line height probably to about the same, right? Where did it go? Oh, yeah. And then you use this information, use the block to really kick off what this case study is all about. And it's a big thing in case studies, right? If you are presenting a mobile design, talk about your challenges, talk about why you did it. Is it a I don't know, a client project? Is it a personal project? Whatever it might be. Use this information up here at the top to kick off what they're going to see down below. And just to speed things up a little bit, I don't usually do this, especially in client projects, but we can use the Lorem Ipsum plugin. So if I go to plugins, discover plugins, or hit the plus button at the top, I can type in Ipsum, install the Lorem. I do have it installed. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's disabled. I hit it. Enable. There we go. I'm going to fill with placeholder text just like this. And I'm going to insert text. And maybe I'll even center it. Now, it's probably a lot of text, probably too much text. We'd probably ideally go with like 3 lines, maybe 4 at the most. You don't want to overload it up at the top, right? You want a user to be able to very quickly skim this header area and then kind of move on. So now that we have that looking pretty good, what we're going to do, we're going to start laying out some information down below. And this is where you're going to start to display your product shots, your sketches, possibly your design system, a lot of different things you can throw down there. So maybe I'll just grab a header and the challenge, right? I'll just type out that. Maybe make this a little bit smaller because it's not as important as the header up there. Maybe I'll offset it a little bit. I'll just have fun with it, right? And then we might want an image to kind of showcase what the challenge is. Maybe you're showcasing an old design that you're redoing, right? Dana's saying, as much as a designer, you need to be a writer. In many cases, you do. It's very true. So I'm going to drag this out just like that. So we have an image. I'm not going to really throw too many things in these boxes. I do want to get to the actual, stacking of all of this. And we can start putting together a stack as we're designing this if you want to, right? So I can go ahead and group both of these objects, Command and Control G, and I'm just going to name this case study. And with that done, I can go ahead and press the stack button. You can turn on stacks right over here within the properties inspector. It did determine that those layers are laid out vertically, top to bottom, which is great. So I could go ahead and swap these around if I wanted to. Doesn't make sense right about now, but we have the challenge at the top. Now we may want another header. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate and I can just move this one down. And this one might be like, say, number 1 and new design, for example, right? And maybe I'll just change this to bold. And maybe I'll even change the number to a different color. Maybe I'll just change it to blue because I can. Or maybe I'll change all of it to bold. I don't know. We'll run with it. We'll see what happens. You can always go back and change it later on, especially if you're using your assets panel correctly. All right, so we've got this looking pretty good. We can adjust the spacing if we wanted to. And then we might want some additional text in here to talk about the new design. Again, you don't want a lot of text, so I'm going to just grab this paragraph up here and just pop it in here. And you're noticing everything moving really nicely. And what's cool about working with stacks is that you don't necessarily, everything's not restricted to one axis. So even though I have a vertical stack enabled and I can move things around just like this, I can also, if I wanted to, offset it. So I can kind of move this inwards just to line up with the new word, right? Now, down below, we may want, maybe this is where you're going to showcase the typefaces you're using for this particular design. So I'm going to duplicate this, move this down, and I'm going to type out type. Maybe I'll change the color a little bit. I'll make this, let's say, regular, and maybe I'll make it a little bit larger, right? Something like that. Perfect. Now, I definitely want to make sure to drag my artboard down so we have a nice amount of room. Case studies sometimes get a little bit long, so you'll find yourself dragging that artboard down over and over and over again. Now over here, within this type area, we may want a little bit of a container to house some of those typefaces. So with the rectangle, I'm simply going to draw one out, just like this. I may even want to offset it a touch. There we go. Now I may even want to stagger these a little bit. So this is kind of where groups within groups come in handy. So if I go ahead and group type and this rectangle, Command and Control G, and this will be the type section. So type, right? And now within here, I can go ahead and move this up without affecting anything else, which is great. So now, let me drag this over. This will be H1 possibly, and Dunbar tall. I'll make this a little bit smaller. So this is kind of where you'll start defining what your design system looks like within this particular case study. Maybe you want H2, and this is Sophia Pro. There we go. And then we might want H3 as well. And then we have to adjust these accordingly. So bring this one down and bring this one down as well. Maybe this one I will change to bold. This will look good, medium maybe, and this one will be regular. Perfect. Okay, so we have this little area here, right, for our particular type. That looks pretty good. And everything is grouped, right? You want to make sure as you're building out this case study to keep things as grouped as possible. So let's say, this whole section here is all about the new design, and maybe you also want to bring in some illustrations, some additional images. So what I can do is I can duplicate this, and you're noticing again, all of these things have kind of shifted and moved around really nicely. So this could be imagery, images. There we go. And maybe I'll move this one over to the side, move this one over. You know what? I don't even need one there. What I do need in here is an image or a rectangle for the image. So drag one out like that, pop that here. And I'll just grab one more image. Do I have another image of a donut? I probably do somewhere, right? I probably do. Let's see. I could have sworn I have more images of donuts somewhere. You know what? We're going to run with regular food, colorful food. We'll put some avocados in there. Doesn't make much sense, but we're going to put some avocados in there. So now that we have these two sections, right, looking pretty good, you might run into this at some point as you're designing out case studies, is that you want to move things around. Maybe your images are more important than your type, and that's really where stacks come into play. So I have these two groups. I have images and I have type, and all you have to do with stacks enabled is just move them, right? You can just shift them around if you needed to. Jack says, regular food. And you can adjust the spacing of all this stuff quite nicely. Just like that. We've got challenge. Maybe I'll just drag this out a little bit. There we go. Perfect. So now we can go ahead and create another group if you wanted to, just to really make sure. Oh, someone's asking about the green check marks. That's an OneDrive thing. It's Microsoft's, basically Dropbox, but Microsoft's version of it. And it's just letting me know the green check marks that those images are synced. So what we can do is we can grab all this information, which is part of the number 1 section. I can go ahead and group these. I'll just call this 1. And if I want to make my life easy, I can just duplicate this. And it pops it down there. And I have another section to start working with, right? So maybe this section down here is maybe mobile design, right? And then we have number 2 here. I'll go ahead and keep that there. Maybe I'll just actually move this over here, right? And I'll move this over here. I'll make sure to right justify it. There we go. And this might be home screen. And you can even group some of these and stack those as well. But let's go ahead and just move this over. This might be completely different, so I'll just move this over. I don't need those. And this will be an image for the home screen. We can have a little bit of overlapping things over there, which looks pretty nice. And this one might be user testing, possibly. I'm just making this stuff up as I go. And we probably don't want the images of avocados anymore, so I'll just change that to whatever. And maybe this will be maybe product shot. So there might be one there and one over here, right? There we go. And even these ones you can group and stack as well. So I can just group these, Command and Control G, and this will be product shots. And I can turn on stacking. It did determine that this is a horizontal stack, and I can just swap them around if I wanted to. But you know, it continues to go further than this, right? We have now 2 sections. We have section number 1 and we have section number 2 up here. And because both of these are inside of a stack that it's vertically aligned, if we wanted maybe mobile design above the new design section, all we have to do is just move it, right? And even in here, we have, if we enable stack. So on the mobile design section or in the new design, we can turn on stack, lays it out vertically, turn on stack here. So we can move this up. We can move user testing up individually. We can adjust the spacing, right? And everything just works super nicely. All right, so things are looking pretty good. And of course, if you wanted to, you can also incorporate scrolling within your case study. So let me go ahead and do one more. Let me actually move number 1 back up to the top. I'm going to duplicate this. And we might want one more section down here. And maybe this one will be, I don't know, what should this be? Do you have your own case studies that we can look into? So I do have one or two case studies on my Behance profile. I don't put very many together because I'm not actively looking for client work, but definitely something I want to do at some point in the future. So this is section number 3. I don't know exactly what this would be. Maybe some of you in the chat will have some interesting ideas. But what we can do here is, let me delete this. Let's say you wanted a gallery of cards going across. Maybe this will be the features, for example, right? You wanted a gallery of cards and someone could kind of swipe through. What I can do is I can turn this into a repeat grid, Command and Control R, and drag this out, right? And then once that's done, right over here in your Properties Inspector, you can simply press the horizontal scroll group button, or you can do vertical or both, if depending on what direction your particular images are. There we go. And if I press play and scroll down, and I can just scroll across and see those images, right? And of course you can adjust these handles if you wanted to, just like that, right? And one more time. Let's scroll down. Where are those images? There they are, right? Fancy. Justin is asking, can you redo that stacking? Are you asking, clarify that, are you asking me to show off the stacking again, or some sort of product question if you can redo the stacking? But if you want me to show it off again, absolutely. So we have, let me go ahead and turn stacking off. This is what life was like before stacking. You had all these different sections, right, within your case study. Spent a lot of time laying out this case study. You have section 1, section 2, section 3, but you might want maybe, section 3 all the way up on section 1 or above section 1, or to become section 1, right? So you would have to grab this section, you have to move it on up, right, like this. Then you have to grab section 2 and section 1 and move those down, make sure everything lines up properly. It's a pain, right? But now everything is in a group and everything is nicely organized. So I have number 3. So all you have to do is select the group that contains, or a component. Select the component or group that contains all your information that you want to be able to stack, and then hit the stack button, the little check mark within the properties inspector. It's going to automatically determine that orientation, in this case vertically. So XD looks at how the content is laid out, and it aligns a stack, right? Creates a stack. And now all you have to do is just move things around, and everything moves super nicely, just like that. And you can even nest stacks within stacks. So I have section number 3, there is a stack enabled. In this case, it's a vertical stack, and you just have to move things just like that, which is great. And you can even have a stack and a stack and a stack. So these images, I can turn on a stack, which aligned it horizontally. I can just switch that around, right? Someone's asking, are you using a mouse? I am using the Apple Magic Trackpad, whatever it's called. I'm not sure what it's called, but that's what I'm using. All right, Brian is asking, what does a case study entail? So like I mentioned at the beginning, a case study can vary. It could be a very simple, quick one sheet of just, product shot and a little bit of text. But for the most part, a case study is really going into the process of the why and the how for a product or a design, right? So in this case, this is a donut case study, but if I go to actually my Behance profile, let's go to my Behance profile for a second, and I'll show you one that I did very similar to this one, which is which is all about the Let's XD redesign, right? So at the top of this page, when it does load, there we go. My internet might be a bit slow because of the thunderstorm, but I have a product shot that showcases the final design of what people are going to be seeing. And then you have a little bit of a blurb. You have a header, Let's XD redesign. It should tell people exactly what they're getting into and what this case study is all about. And then a little bit of a blurb about, what they're going to be seeing, right? And then you just have all the sections laid out, very similar to what I've been doing in Adobe XD over the last 20 minutes. You have a section here, out with the old, right? You can kind of see that everything's lined up. Consistent design, we have our type, we have light mode, dark mode, a poll, and everything's very similar to what I showed off. And actually over here, let me actually bring this over. I'm going to bring this file over that I've been kind of referencing. And this is the case study that I actually built for Behance, which is the same one that you see here. I just basically exported this. And what's nice about this is this was built before stacks, at least this version of it, right? And yes, someone's asking, did you make this in XD? I certainly did, and here's the file. So what I'm able to do now is simply just grab all of these elements if I wanted to, right? I can grab all of this stuff. I can do this in my layers panel as well. There's a lot of stuff down here. I don't know what this is, but I think that's an oh yeah, it's an exploration. That one didn't get approved. So I can go ahead and group all of this stuff, right? Name this content and just turn on stacks. And it's going to automatically determine that orientation, and now I can just start moving things around, right? There's pages. There's, it put a group in there. So I can turn on stacks in here. And if it determines that there's other things going in different directions, it'll create another group for you that you can enable stacks on, right? So I can just grab this and move it on up. So again, if I wanted, let's say number 3 above number 1, I can very easily do that. And even in here, right, I can turn on stacks here. So I can move this above here. I can also turn on stacks on this group here and just shift these around. So things get super handy and super fast as you start using stacks and as you start figuring out the grouping methods and using components and things like that. So yeah, stacks is fun, especially when you're using them for case studies and long form websites and things like that. But that is just about going to do it for me for today. Do we have anybody after me? We probably do, right? Kyle T. Webster is coming up in just a few minutes to wrap up the week and after with more Adobe Live goodness. Someone's asking about scroll groups on horizontal scroll groups on PC. That a fix is coming very soon, I believe. So stay tuned for that. Keep a look on your Creative Cloud application for that update. It's very coming. And Jesulayomi, almost. I think I almost got it. Richard and Ariana, Antoine, Cornell on soon. And take care.